This is where they would keep a lot of the animals that they were, basically doing research on. Look at it, it really looks like a brain.
This computer looks like it hasn't been on since like 1992.
Alright, hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today Sonny and I are going to be exploring an abandoned animal testing facility. This place is absolutely amazing and there is so much left behind here to still be discovered. We're going to take you guys around this place, so let's go ahead and do that and see what we can find. So, interestingly enough, this place still has power on, as you can tell, and we are heading into the kennel section. So this is where they would keep a lot of the animals that they were, basically doing research on, and they'd be staying in here. You can actually see there's like I'm assuming like the little cots probably if they were gonna sleep. They probably get like a little bowl of food and water, and I would imagine that's about it. I can't say 100% what all this stuff is on the ground. I wouldn't be surprised if like they didn't clean up properly in here, just from having like a pet of my own and knowing that like this is what can happen if you don't like clean cages or pet spaces properly, which sadly probably means that they were not being well taken care of, which is not really surprising when it comes to a place like this. And this one's actually open. I'm assuming they probably have a bowl of food or water, and then they just get this little space, and like I said, that little cot they probably would sleep on. I'm assuming this is mainly for dogs, but they didn't, research on all kinds of animals here. It just feels really, really sad, because, they were not getting much here, not much care. And then here is a neighboring room with even more kennels and these clipboards, which you can imagine probably had all kinds of information, documentation about these animals and maybe what, research studies they were a part of or anything like that. Kind of puts into perspective how many animals they were really keeping here. So Sonny realized that this is like a weigh station, maybe for some of the animals, because they would want to document weight. I'll start to go up now and give you an estimate of weight. So I guess that's part of the research they would do. And Sonny's a little beefcake.
They track it right here.
Alright, so this section seems to be more of like an office space. There's a lot of computers, maybe more like a computer lab too. You have to think about all the stuff that they were documenting while they were conducting all of this research. So who even knows what's in all of these things? That one is just so tiny. Like kind of comically tiny, actually. There's a few other ones down here too, but still, again, it's just probably like a lot of documentation and just so much information that they were researching. They were putting out all kinds of like recommendations from their research and papers and all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of crazy actually when you look at the flip side, like being inside of this place and knowing what actually was happening to the animals here. Sonny found this picture book, I guess, that has all kind of photos in here, probably of like either the doctors or I don't even know. Maybe this is some sort of like event that they had, but it's just weird to put a face or multiple faces, to the story of this place.
Oh, something's changing. I don't know what I'm doing, but this is really weird that this computer is still on and working. It's kind of crazy, actually.
So I'm here, Sonny pushing all these buttons, and I'm like, what in the world?
Yeah, I just figured if the lights work, why wouldn't this turn on? But you can see this computer looks like it hasn't been on since like 1992.
Yeah, I can't even begin to comprehend what's going on here. Oh my god.
Crazy.
Now we're kind of getting over to the more medical side. I'm not really sure exactly what the purpose of this room was, but there's this giant, light. Typically what, you would think this is like a surgery light. I don't know, so maybe some sort of procedures went down here. Maybe they took out some of the other things that used to be here, but I don't know, that light is just something else. It is freaking huge. I don't know if you guys can tell really on camera, but just absolutely massive. And then over here, there's a paper that we found that kind of gives us a better idea of what these operating rooms are for. It basically says they can be used for survival surgery in smaller animals, which are rats and mice, but it can be used in non-survival surgery for these larger animals. And there's just so many, like dogs, cats, goats, pigs, rabbits, and guinea pigs. So I'm assuming by non-survival surgery, maybe that means like collecting tissue samples or something, in a way that, you know, the surgery's not life-saving for the animal, it's about the research, and sometimes at the end, people refer to it almost as like disposing of those, you know, research subjects. All right, so Sonny and I are in this other operating room now, and I wanted him to show you guys something because it is pretty freaking awesome. So yeah, this surgical light still works perfectly, which is so cool. I've never encountered one that is still fully functional.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, it adds like a weird mood into this room. So we just came into this lab, and there's actually a bunch of preserved specimens still in here. And that yellow fluid that's still in those bottles is actually formaldehyde. It's just absolutely nuts that this has been left here. On the tape, it can be kind of made out that it says monkey. And when you just look at it, it really looks like a brain, which is absolutely just crazy to think about. And then over here on the other side, there's one that says jejunum, which jejunum is part of the intestine. So I don't know if maybe that's a monkey's intestine. And over here too, there's just even more samples. Like I don't even really want to touch it. It's just so crazy to look at all this and know that this is from real research, real animals. So now we're kind of in this section where we can see lots of these really large laboratory spaces, all of which have like this really intense like blue-green color to it, which I kind of really like actually. And you can even see on the board here it mentions that you should be mindful of not spilling HIV blood because it's really hard to clean off completely. So there's just a little bit of insight into what exactly they were working on here. We are making our way throughout this place, and we saw this room, which is kind of like a cold room, and it turns out that it is actually still full of samples. So we're gonna open this up and take you guys through all of it. This is what it looks like with the door open. You can actually hear that it is still being refrigerated and everything, which is interesting. And yeah, just a whole lot of stuff to go through, so we're gonna head in there. Be mindful that we probably don't want to be breathing this in for too long. It's probably not the best, so we're gonna be quick. We'll take you guys through and see what's left. It's pretty loud in here. Hopefully you're gonna hear me okay. But we have some biohazard bags here, and it looks like what I think is tissue samples on each of those like little squares, maybe from the animals that they were doing research on. I think you can actually see it better over here on that little like light green one. There's like a kind of solid piece there. And over here there's even more of these biohazard bags, and this one actually specifically on top says no tumor. So I'm kind of wondering if sometimes they have like a control sample of animals in a research study that may not have a tumor gene, and then they have other ones that do. So maybe that's the case here, that they have samples from their control group, and then the other ones, maybe they were looking into something else as part of their research question. But still, again, it just feels so weird and kind of wrong standing in here. It just kind of doesn't even feel real that all this is somehow sitting here and not, I don't know, being, like, I feel like I'm gonna say a million times, properly disposed of as it should have been. And then over here is a whole nother tray of what looks like blood tubes, which this is kind of confusing to both Sonny and I, because it looks like there are human names on here, because with the other samples it's usually just a subject number, and these have like full names and date of birth, and this is even like a O positive blood bag. So then it's kind of confusing as to how this plays into this facility and what exactly was going on here. But again, still eerie just to see all of this, you know. Doesn't feel you know, right just to have all these blood samples, you know, lying around. It really shouldn't be like that. So it's kind of nuts when you look at all these names and wonder what was really happening to these people, what was going on, and I'm not sure if I'll ever get the answer to that. And then the last thing really is that there's just a lot of boxes of slides. So that could be pretty much any kind of cell from any of the animals that were here. I cannot even imagine how much is here right now. It is just insane. But yeah, like I said, we really shouldn't have been in here for so long because the smell is really bad and we should just probably hop on out of here. But this was absolutely insane to see, probably the craziest thing we've come across yet. Alright guys, so now we are inside of the Autopsy Theater. Never actually seen one of these before. You can actually see that there is seating all around in a kind of circular formation. And this would usually be a place where students would sit and observe, maybe like a professor, and it can be for all kinds of things, like sometimes surgeries or just like little procedures, biopsies, autopsies, anything of that nature. Mainly for the point of being able to observe someone who is, capable of doing whatever procedure or whatever they were teaching and learning. So you can imagine all of the things that this room has seen and that this autopsy table has seen as well. Here's a more close-up look at the autopsy table itself, which always feels kind of weird to be near, just, thinking about all of the things that have happened in here. So it feels a little eerie, but it's also in a way very fascinating. There's these two big surgical lights up on top so that everyone in the room could see what was going on very clearly, whatever was being demonstrated by the teacher. But wow, still, you just wonder, what exactly was happening in here? Was it all ethical? And then here's the perspective from up in the seating area, which you can imagine how it could have felt to sit here as a student and observe and basically have this exact same perspective. It is just, again, feels really weird to be sitting in here, standing in here and feeling that vibe, knowing how many procedures went down in here, how many animals were in here. It's just so indescribable almost, that feeling. And I wonder what the people who came here felt as well. Did they feel like it was wrong? Did they not think about it at all? And again, we may never know what that was like for them. Alright guys, this is the final and probably most epic room. It seems like there is 3 what I believe are going to be autopsy tables in this room. Probably for all of the animals that were, getting experimented on, and then usually they do an autopsy or collect samples or all those kinds of things as a part of the process. And it's just kind of crazy to look at these tables and think of just how many animals were once on them under these huge surgical lights. It is just such a crazy image to kind of end on in this place. This is probably the most intense room I have gotten the chance to experience. And just to give you a closer look, you just see it's completely cold stainless steel, and there's a few different drains, one up here, and then it looks like there's one over here with the sink. And then of course there's the big surgical light, and it's just wow. You can only imagine what this thing has seen. Just looking at all of them, they're all just pretty much carbon copies, but still, it's just so inexplicable how interesting it is, at least to me. I always find the medical stuff really interesting, and just to get an inside look at this place and all of the steps, all of the, things that these animals went through from start to end, from them being in those kennels to ending up here, it's just feels strange kind of seeing that process, and I don't know, it kind of leaves me without words. Alright, Sonny, what did you think of this place?
I really don't know what to think of this place, honestly. It was incredible on the one hand, but it's also kind of sad, seeing those kennels upstairs just really hit home for me, and just thinking about the animals that were here and just what happened to them. You know, it's kind of messed up.
Yeah, I think we saw some really strange stuff, everything from the samples and just seeing the whole process of everything they went through from being there, like you said, in the kennels to being here and getting their samples taken, all that stuff. It's just interesting to see that whole cycle, and I think you really feel for them all throughout. But either way, guys, we had a really awesome time, though. It was cool to see everything that was left behind here, and I know we are both exhausted, and we are definitely ready to head on out of here. So that's what we're going to do, and peace. Alright guys, I'm going to end the video right here. I hope you enjoyed exploring this abandoned animal testing facility with us. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and of course, like always, we'll catch ya in the next one.